Hello, SPED 2010 students. I hope everyone had a great week last week. So, this week we are going to be looking specifically at the disability category. So, this is a big week because I know last week we talked about parent collaboration and the partnerships that you have with parents. So, this week, I specifically want us to be looking at the disability categories underneath IDEA as well as under Tennessee State Department. So, our course outcomes are listed here, so you could read those. This week, our objectives for learning are really going to be for you to be able to name the 13 categories of disability under IDEA. And then I want you to be able to identify what the highest incident categories of disability is. This week, you will be reading in your exceptional learners textbook as well as reading a chapter out of the PDF book, supplemental book that I gave you. You will also have some websites that are really going to help you, and that is going to help you understand not only what the 13 disability categories are, but just to be able to understand, you know, what the Tennessee Department of Education, Special Education, what do they consider their categories of disability? Does it line up with IDEA? So that those resources will really help you, I feel like, connect with the content. And this is something you should know as a general ed teacher, or if you're going in special ed, obviously you will know that as well. So your assignments are going to be to complete a worksheet. Now, this worksheet is going to be specifically on the disability categories, and it's going to be worth 10 points. Another thing that I wanted to know is that you, aside of having your disability categories worksheet, your interview or journal article report is due as well. And that will, both of them will be due on Sunday, February 25th. Because remember, you had to choose which of the major assignment did you want to do. Did you want to do the interview or the journal article report? And that's actually due the Sunday, the 25th of February. So just keep that in mind. I put here study guide for quiz one because, as I mentioned during the first week of course orientation, we will have 5 weeks inside of each module. And then after those 5 weeks, we will go ahead and take our quiz or our exam. So your exam is going to be after this week. So I will open it up next week for you. I will send out a window or a time frame that you will take it. So I had put the study guide, but you will not be taking the quiz yet. You will get through this week and then you will have time to work on the quiz whenever you feel like you're ready to take it. You will have that window of opportunity and time open to take the exam, the quiz. I also put some key words and concepts that you're going to be reading about and seeing as you go through this week's content. You're going to see continuum of services. And what that means is when a child has an IEP, you are part of that team, right? It's an individualized education plan. So you're responsible for help making decisions, right, about what kind of services the child's going to get or receive, um, the extent of those services, where should those services be provided. So you have a voice in that. So when we're talking about the range of placements, okay, this is really that's available to them. That's what we call a continuum of services. So the student's placement on this continuum of services can really change at any time to address that child's needs. And it must adhere to what we call the least restrictive environment. Now, the least restrictive environment is a child who receives special education, but we feel they can be with their peers as much as possible. Um, the least restrictive environment is going to look different depending on the child's needs and their plan. And then the last one is really IDA, which you learned a lot about in the last couple of weeks. And it's really a special education law, right? So it gives us rights and protections to students who have disabilities. So it covers ages birth all the way to 21. And parents and legal guardians have rights under the law. Under that, you're going to see the categories of disability that fall under IDA, and that's why I listed them here in bullet points so you can see that these are the categories under IDEA. When you get into your homework this week, you're also going to be going into the Tennessee Special Education evaluations and eligibility under the Department of Education, and you're going to see what the State Department um, accepts as part of a disability that that child will receive special education services if they fall under that category. So you're going to see two categories. You're going to see the IDA categories for disabilities, and then you're also going to be looking at the Tennessee State Department categories as well for disabilities. So I told you you will be doing reading out of your textbook. So you will be reading two chapters this week. The first chapter is really going to be from your chapter 5 in your exceptional learners textbook. The second is you're going to be reading chapter 8, and this is really looking at service delivery option related services and other service providers for children who receive special education services. And that's going to be in that PDF guide that I gave you, the Teacher's Guide to Special Education. Now, here is a supplemental resource that talks more about the least restrictive environment. So I have that there for you. It will open in a new window. So please take a look at that because I think that will help you understand what that means. I listed resources here for you if you want to save those to your device. I also went ahead and provided you with a PowerPoint. This is really going through the disability of categories, what their terminology is, who does it cover, what age range, the parents' right. It really covers a lot. So I feel like this is going to be a good study guide for you, especially when you're going through and studying for exam one. A good resource and tool for you as well. So make sure that you save that and go through that PowerPoint. So let's get into the assignments. As I mentioned, you're going to be assessed this week. As always, I want to mention there's always a questions about the course. I will look at those weekly, but if you need an answer right away, it may be best for you to email me a question instead of posting on that discussion board. So, as I mentioned, you will have a worksheet that you will be completing, as well as having your choice of interview or your journal report. So, that will be your peer reviewed article. So, you have to choose which one that you would like to do. I did create a video discussing that and explaining the expectations for either one of those assignments, and that's on the course homepage. So please refer to that. You will also have to complete your worksheet, which I will go over in just a minute. Now, one other thing to note in regards to service learning, I have sent a lot of emails out. There's several students who have already been placed and hopefully had made contact. Remember, as soon as you receive a email from me stating that your request for service learning placement has been approved, please reach out to this person. I attached the referral confirmation form. I want to show you what that looks like. So the referral confirmation form must be completed before you can begin your service learning. Okay, so just because I email you saying your request for placement has been approved doesn't mean you can start your hours. And I do note that in the email, so please read it thoroughly. I attached this form in the email. So what you will have to do is you will have to get this to the administrator, the principal. So that's either the principal or the vice principal, the assistant principal. And this has to be completed by filling it out paper and pencil. This cannot be electronically completed, right? So it can be print out or you can send it to them and they can print it out. And then it can be scanned as a PDF and then you will submit it to Teams. So if you look here, the information needed at the top is really saying your name, the date, the name of the school, duties, you can put service learning, students availability for service learning. So this section really can be completed by you, right? That can be ahead of time done to make it easy. You will tell the dates and times you're available, right? Like the days of the week that you might be available to do it. Maybe only on Fridays you can do it, or maybe only on Tuesdays. So that's what it's asking there. The date you will begin, it doesn't have to be exact. It really just needs to be an estimate of when you will start and when you will end. Now, the bottom is where the administrator and the teacher you're placed with, your mentor teacher, agrees to have you for service learning. So, what that means is that the principal, the director, or the administrator will sign this. They will print their name, they will put their title, and then the mentor teacher, the teacher you're placed with in the class, will sign here. They will put their email address, then this will be the address of the school, the city, state, and zip, excuse me, and then a phone number where we can reach this teacher you're placed with if we need to contact them for any reason. So, like I said, this has to be filled out pen and paper. It cannot be electronically completed, and then it needs to be scanned as a PDF, and this will be submitted to Teams. So, if you look, the due date is February 22nd. Some of you I have not reached out to you saying your request has been approved. So you probably are not going to be able to do this. But if you have questions, please contact me or the service learning coordinator because it's important that you start getting this information together and get permission to be at this school, the choice of your school. So for your homework, I have a couple of things that are going to help you. So the first one is going to be the 13 categories under IDA, Part B. So, what I want you to look at is I provided a link for you that really talks and goes into the different disability categories that IDEA recognizes, right? So, you can click on each one and it's going to give you information about that child, that disability specifically. Okay, so those are the 13 that IDEA recognize. And remember, that's one of your module objectives, your objective for this week to be able to identify those 13 categories. Okay, so this is something that you should definitely save and be studying, and this will also be on the test. Now, the second part is going to be also clicking on this assignment, and you're going to see that I'm going to give you information that helps you. So I think if you click on this, it's going to be the same thing that we just looked at. So I put it in more than one place to help you out. The second one is going to be where you have to go to the special education evaluation and eligibility. And what you're going to do is when you get there, you're going to have to click on this arrow here. And that's going to drop down the disability categories underneath the Tennessee State Department. Okay, so they recognize these categories. If you'll see, a lot of them are the same as what IDA recognizes. So, what you're going to do then is after you read through and go through and understand and see this, what the similarities are, if there's any differences, what you're going to do is then you're going to click on the disability categories worksheet. When you pull it up, it's going to look like this. I want you to type directly into this document. Please do not handwrite, and then scan it back as a PDF. It's much neater and penmanship wise, it's easier for me to read and makes it more accessible. So, what I want you to do is put your name, and then you're going to take these 13 categories and you're going to list them here on the left side. IDA required categories. That's right here. Then on the right side, you're going to have to list those that was in the Tennessee Special Education Department, right? Tennessee Department of Education, underneath Special Education Evaluation Ability, you're going to list these on the right side. After you do that, you're going to see if any of them are the same. If they are, yes. If they're not, you're going to hit no. Okay? And what we do here, this is just stating for us, I do this so you can see if any of them match up. So is Tennessee Department of Education recognizing the same categories as IDEA? Okay, down here you're going to see IDEA does recognize a optional category of developmental delay. And once you see there, okay, I listed it because it's letting you see which ones are different. So once you go through and you see which ones are different, right? I want you to either type them down here or highlight them and circle the ones that are different, right? Highlighting is probably easy because all you would have to do is just take this color and then you can just highlight that one that's different. Okay, that's the easiest thing that I've had students do in the past, right? So, what you do again is you go look under the 13 categories of disability. You're going to list them on the left side. Then you're going to go to the Tennessee Department of Education site under disability evaluations and eligibility, and you're going to list the ones on the right that Tennessee recognizes. The second part is really going to be determining if the categories are the same. Does both Tennessee Department of Education and IDEA recognize the same disability categories? If they do, put an X. If they don't, put no. And then you can just highlight or circle the categories that are different, right? And that's just going to let us see the differences of what Tennessee recognizes. And remember, each state's going to be different. Their Department of Education, say in Minnesota, might have different disability categories that they recognize than we do. So it's really going to fall under that state. Most of them do fall in guidelines with IDEA. They recognize the same ones. There are two, I will tell you this, there will be two disability categories that are different than IDEA, right? And that's what I want you to try to find here and highlight. Which two are different? Okay. Because there's 13 under IDA, 14 if you're counting the optional category. Okay. Tennessee will have 16. So that means that there's two extra that are different that you will circle or highlight. So that's what I really want you to see when you do this assignment. Okay, and after you're done, you'll save your work and then you will submit this to Dropbox. Okay, so this assignment is worth 10 points and this is going to be your assessment for the week. Now, I want to go back and look at something else that we had mentioned earlier. So, the other thing that I gave you that's really going to help you is obviously I gave you a study guide, right? So the study guide is going to be a review sheet. So these are all the categories that I will be testing you on that we've had in the last 5 weeks. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pull up your notes. Um, I want you to go back and look, and maybe you can you can download and type in here if you want, or start a different, or do paper and pencil. But I want you to try to go through and find this stuff, right? To find where we talked about this. Have it typed out, have it wrote out. This is really going to help you. Another thing I gave you is a Quizlet review. And the Quizlet review is very helpful because it kind of goes over the stuff that we are actually talking about and that you will be tested on. So that just is a good way for you to get feedback as well. Okay, so you'll see I have three here. We've got SPED laws that we went over, the major provisions of IDA, and categories of disability. You can click on the ones that you want, and that will take you to that specific Quizlet, right? So with Quizlets, you have different options within there. You have flashcards, you have learn, test, chatting. So these are really good study tools for you. I usually try to give Quizlet or some kind of way for you to get feedback. Go back to your iris modules. Iris modules are also great because I test you on things that we've done before. So this is really going to help you with the quiz. Now, like I said, I will be sending you out an email stating of your window of time to take the first quiz, which is going to be over module 2, weeks 1 through 5. Okay. And when it's time to take it, I'll go through where you need to be to take the quiz. Okay. Okay, that completes all of our very last week in Module 2. I hope that everyone has a very great week. And remember, if you have any questions about any of the assignments or the service learning referral confirmation form, please reach out. All right, guys, until next time, take care.